Hello and welcome to episode 11 of In the North, your podcast brought to you by Basketball Queensland. And of course, it's our Coles Express NBL1 North competition podcast where we talk about everything happening in the season, in the comp, and get to have some pretty amazing guests. So I'm Briana Goodchild. I'm joined as always by Jon Guarna. And tonight we have on the show, Isaac White. How are you?
Hello. Yeah, doing really well. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you for joining us. So you've come off a big weekend. There was a lot going on in round 10. Tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, it wasn't the best round for me and the Ipswich Force. We took the first two losses I've been a part of and the first two losses we've had in a while. But yeah, a lot going on. We've got another doubleheader upcoming this weekend up in Rockhampton and Makai. So whole lot of basketball at the moment.
Yeah, definitely getting ready to head up north. Woof.
You're in for a real treat. That Rocky Makai trip is legendary. I'm sure your teammates have let you know a bit about that. But I want to go back a little bit before we get really deep into the NBL1 North season. I want to know a bit about you and about how you got started playing basketball.
Yeah, so I grew up in Adelaide, South Australia. I was always an AFL kid, like AFL football, loved that, loved a bit of cricket. That's what my dad played. But my brother, who's a huge influence on me, 2 years older than me, got me into basketball when I was young. You know, he just kind of like tried out for like a local church team, and then he moved to a club team, and I kind of went along and had to play too. So I've always liked basketball, but I never really played it that seriously until I was probably 15, 16 when I kind of had to choose up between sports. But AFL football was my thing for, you know, when I was born basically till like 15 or so.
Yeah, wow. So what made you choose basketball in the end? Was it just your brother, or did you find that you were doing better in that sport?
Yeah, I'm influenced a lot by my brother. I like to copy him. It was that probably for the most part, but no, I like the prospect of like traveling internationally with basketball. That was always really cool to me. I'd never really traveled as a kid, internationally at least. And then football, I don't know, I really enjoyed it, but it was kind of like, I don't know, I was kind of learning so much with basketball because it wasn't in my family or anything like that. I was just always kind of excited by it and stuff like that.
That's cool. The thrill of the challenge.
Indeed.
So you talked about getting to travel internationally. What were some of your experiences like in your junior rep career? And then we know, obviously, you had the opportunity to get over to the States and play basketball at Stanford. So can you tell us a bit about some of those international experiences you've had through basketball?
Yeah, for sure. I didn't really make a national team or travel internationally until I was around 18 years old, which was the Albert Schweitzer tournament with Australia, and then followed by the under 19 FIBA qualifiers. So they were my first two trips internationally. Growing up, obviously, I aspired to make the AIS or like make it under 17 team or something like that, and it never kind of came through. So when that opportunity came knocking, I was super excited about that. And then I took a bunch of college visits as well. So I really didn't travel at all until 17, 18, and I was eager to all along. But yeah, now since then it's kind of been nonstop.
Oh, that's so good.
I wanted to just follow up with you about the time that you had at Stanford and the experiences that you had. You know, you talked about visiting a few colleges. How did you wind up at Stanford, and what do you look back upon, and what are your thoughts on your time there?
For sure. So I took 2 rounds, I guess, of college visits. My first one, I visited Boise State, San Diego, and Hawaii, and I kind of did those 3 consecutively, and then came back home. And after that trip, like I was pretty much ready to go to Boise State, but I did have interest from Stanford along the way. And again, my brother being an influence on me, like he's like, just wait it out, like see what happens. You never know. And then funny story, I actually ended up getting an offer to come have a glorified tryout at Stanford. They basically said, like, because all these other teams had been watching me along the way, they tried to fly out, etc. Stanford hadn't. They said, like, you can come and train with our team. Let's see you live and see what happens. And so I flew out, literally, I brought my parents, of course, flew out for the day or 2, got off the plane, went to practice, practiced against the team. Had one of my better practices ever. Thank you.
Yes.
Got the offer, and then, just flew back home and ended up having to think about that, but locking in Stanford. So it was kind of a last minute thing, but that's kind of been my philosophy, I guess. It's just kind of bite off more than I can chew and then just deal with it from there. So yeah.
Yeah, learn to swim in the deep end. And those college tour things are so much fun. I know my sister, Mila Goodchild, did them. And I like to think I'm a bit of an influence on her, being the older sister. And I was pushing for Hawaii. I was like, go to Hawaii. But it's nothing but shakas and like hibiscus and bikinis nonstop. But she ended up going to Duke. And it was a similar story. Duke wasn't one of the ones that had been watching her. I mean, she'd been pretty heavily scouted. But again, they came in super last minute, and a little bit of the same thing where it was kind of like one of those trout situations. So it's always very exciting, that process of getting into college. But then how did you find actually playing? Like, what were the challenges? What were the best bits? How was actually studying in the States?
Yeah, it was a lot. I only ended up spending 3 years over there. So academically, I fast-tracked my degree, got it done in the 3 years, which probably made it a little more challenging than it had to be. But, probably, to be honest, on par with what I did in year 12 in South Australia. Like, I found like the time management of grade 12 in Australia was like super good preparation for college. Because I mean, you got basketball, you got weightlifting, you got practice, and then you got school. So I was kind of well prepared for that, but it was a lot. And then basketball was great. I mean, I came in as a freshman and had the starting 2 guard, which is my position, get hurt. So I started a bunch of games in my freshman year. My second year, I kind of got recruited over a little bit. And then by my third year, I was back at, playing a fair bit. So kind of both ends of the spectrum, massive maturing experience, I'd say. And had some really good games, some really bad ones. So for what I could get out of a college experience, I'm pretty happy.
And how do you feel that the college experience prepared you for that next level? Obviously, you just finished your first season in the NBL with Illawarra. Did you feel comfortable coming in and getting started in that professional career after your college experience?
Definitely. I mean, the bump and grind of practicing every day and the travel and stuff like that, I felt super prepared for. The lifestyle change was almost the biggest thing at the start. Like, I felt guilty all the time. I was like, what else do I have to do? Like, why don't I have schoolwork? And in Wollongong, it's really just, practice, work out, and go to the beach. So that was the biggest adjustment to start. And then it was, obviously it's a slightly high level of basketball in the NBL. I'm playing under a really good coach. He has serious expectations. So, I mean, there was adapting to do, but I felt pretty prepared for, I guess, basketball at the professional level.
Yeah, so great to hear. And in terms of the season, how did you feel you guys went? What's sort of the takeaways that your team took away from this last NBL season? Yeah.
Again, personally, I kind of experienced both ends of it. To start the year, I played a little bit. During the middle of the season, I was buried. It was tough to get on the court. Some games I didn't get on the court at all. And then towards like the last third of the season or so, I had a good opportunity in Adelaide. I had my career high, and then kind of played 20 minutes or so a game from there. So cool experience personally. I'd love to build on it, obviously. And then being a part of that team late, like, we had a really good run towards playoffs. And then obviously I'm a little bit salty that, it got cut short in the semis against Perth, but I mean, credit to them. So I'm excited. We got a really young group, probably I'd say the youngest team in the NBL. But I'm really excited for the direction we're going as a club, and excited for this year, obviously.
That'll be exciting for us as well.
I'm really curious to know, to bring it back to the Coles Express NBL1 North, how was the connection made with the Ipswich Force, and what brought you here to Queensland?
Yeah, another funny story. My teammate Daniel Frieda on the Illawarra Hawks initially was signed with the Southern District Spartans up here, right? And so he's one of my good mates. Like, he's part of the beach gang that I go with every day. I'm always stuff like that. So like, he was telling me like, yeah, I'm going up north. And I think it's a really good league, like could be a good opportunity. And so I was thinking about it. I was probably going to go home and just work out and just take a deep breath after the NBL season. But then I thought, all right, I'll probably get bored anyway. Screw it. Let's see what I can do. So I reached out to my agent and tried to get on a team basically, but it was kind of late in the piece. Like this was only a month or so ago, I guess. And no team was really had a vacancy at my spot. And then I think Nathan Sobey made the Olympic thing and had to leave Ipswich. And so I got hit up by my agent and got given half an hour to decide. They were like, yeah, Ipswich, I want you if you want to go up and have a crack with Matt Hodgson, who I know, and a bunch of guys up there. So I was like, yeah, let's do it. And so I locked that in. And then as soon as the NBL season ended, I drove up and now I'm here.
Wow. So half an hour to decide, how long to pack?
Okay. So this was, I was in Perth. It was like the middle of the day in Perth. I had half an hour to decide whether to go or not. I said yes. And then I kind of just went back from Perth to Wollongong, packed all my stuff in my car and drove up. So a little bit more time to pack, but it was a bit of a split decision. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. I love it. And what car are we driving? Is there room to pack everything, or you got a little Getz like I do?
Toyota, very economic. Yeah, plenty of room. It's nice, like 6-cylinder sedan. So no worries.
That's great. And how are you finding the competition? And obviously, it sounds like you hadn't really considered NBL1 North previously. What are your thoughts after, a month or so into the season?
Really good. I guess this was one of the factors that I knew there's a bunch of NBL guys up here. Every game, basically, there's going to be a matchup or two, which is really high level. And I get excited for that challenge every week. Really good competition. It's challenging. No wins are really guaranteed. If you look at the ladder at the moment, like everyone's kind of around the 500 mark, at least in the men. So I've really enjoyed it. And I'm hoping to make playoffs and go beyond.
Well, that's right. You've been on a little bit of a hot streak for most of the time since you've joined us. And we do our tips each week on this podcast. And I had a real fun time and a good time tipping you guys for the wins back to back to back. But this weekend, a couple of losses there. Do you think you can pick it up and keep it going to get into that finals playoff?
Of course I do. Yeah. I mean, every team's got to have a slide. A little bit of adversity never hurt anyone. So, we should be back at it. Friday, we got Makai. It's obviously going to be a tough one, but I'm confident every game for sure.
Hey, swim in the deep end. Like you said, you like to learn that way.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And how are you finding Ipswich? I can't imagine you've been to Ipswich before moving up here to play.
I actually have been to Ipswich.
Wow. All right.
The 20 Nationals was here. So
there you go.
Yeah, I'm accustomed to the switch. I actually don't live in the switch. I live more closer to Brisbane, but obviously I'm up there a couple of times a week. But I really like it there. Like my team's great. The games are packed for the most part in that stadium. So I really liked my time there for sure.
That's sounding great. Now, John, do you have any more questions you want to fire away, or should we get to 5 fast questions?
I know Isaac said he's prepped, so let's see how well he has prepped for the hard-hitting ones.
These are the really big, hard questions. Kidding, but let's do them anyway. These are the fun ones. So I'm going to ask you our rapid-fire questions. 5 of them, answer as quickly as you can. Are you ready, Isaac?
Yes, I'm ready.
All right. Favorite sports team? Go.
Illawarra Hawks.
Oi. Sports idol?
Michael Jordan.
Favorite pre-game meal?
2% fat turkey mince.
Wow. Okay. Hardest opponent?
Very specific.
Very. Hardest opponent? It was Jason Kadee on the weekend.
Oh, damn. Yeah, he had a good one.
Yeah.
And what advice would you give to any young players striving to be successful?
Make sure you enjoy what you do.
I like it. And, I think one of the things I picked up chatting to you as well was the idea of you really acknowledge your highs and lows. And I think that's such a big part of being an athlete, big part of, anyone who does performance-based work. And so how do you sort of overcome that week to week?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of plays into what I just said. Like, I love basketball. I love what I do. I mean, I wake up every morning, like, I joke with my girlfriend. My girlfriend has to go to work. She's a nurse. She works hard. I wake up and play basketball. So I live the life. And so any challenges that are associated with basketball, I feel blessed to just have to deal with that. So I love what I do. And so any challenges that come with it, it's easy.
That's inspiring. Everyone listen in, clip this up, put it on Instagram, share it around. A beautiful note for everyone. Great.
That was awesome. And it's been a bit of a common theme in that question as well, that if you're not having fun, why are you doing it?
Exactly. No, honestly, true.
That's it. Love what you do.
Beautiful. Thank you so much.
Work a day in your life.
Thank you.
All
Thank
right.
you for having me.
Well, that brings us to the end of our interview. So you've done well. You've made it through the 5 fast questions. And thank you so much for just sharing so much of your journey and specifically how you got here to play in the Coles Express NBL1 North. It's so exciting to have you as part of the season.
No, thank you. Thanks for having me. It's been fun.
All right. Well, we'll see you on the weekend playing the games. Good luck for the doubleheader up north.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, Isaac. Good luck this weekend versus Makai and Rocky. And been a real pleasure having you up here in Queensland.
Thank you so much. Okay.
See you around. Bye. There we go. Oh, how heartwarming was that note about love what you do and, play with passion. Very inspiring. As always,
it's great.
I might mention.
It's definitely something that's come up quite a few times when we've spoken to the players across the competition. And I think it's a really important message for the young kids out there to remember, it is a game, it is a competition, but you got to have fun and you got to enjoy yourself. And I think, you can see the energy levels that Isaac plays with. You can tell he's having fun out there every second he's on the court. And I think it's a real great reflection on him as a person also.
Yeah. And I think just in general, if you're having fun with what you do, then other people enjoy watching you. So I think regardless of whether you're a dancer, a commentator, or a player, any of those performance-based careers, I think you can really see it. If you love what you do, that more than skill, more than talent, that will elevate you and lift your performance.
Oh, for sure. And I am a dancer. I am a commentator. I'm not a player though. So I definitely, I could claim dancer, probably not good, but I'll claim it.
Oh, hang on. We cannot forget that we're meant to have a dance off when we get to finals time. So for Basketball Queensland listening, just work out how you're going to put this together, or we'll put our heads together, and that's even more dangerous. But speaking of passion, Jon, we saw a lot of passion on the weekend. We had some great games on Sunday, which were our games of the week. And I want to start there for my top players of the week. So top 3 players, you're dreaming. But I want to start with my ex-teammate, Tiana Mangahihia, who on Sunday, the Northside Wizards, they took down USC Rip City 86-75. And Tiana, she scored 33 points with 5 rebounds, 6 assists, and 5 steals. And she just played with such intensity and passion and tenacity, and just literally what a game to watch.
Yeah, that was an awesome performance. I think you can see the look in Tiana's eye at the start of that game. She seemed like she had a bit of a chip on her shoulder and was ready to come out to play. Played really physical, was super determined, made a real effort to get to the basket and converted a lot of those. It was a really physical game, and Tiana definitely didn't take any backward steps in that one. She continued to attack and be aggressive. 33 points, 5 rebounds, 6 assists. That was awesome to watch and to commentate on.
It certainly was. And, and she made the NBL1 North's, player of the week because of it. And it was just like a sensational effort, and so great for her team to have a real comeback victory to get them back in this mix, and hopefully heading towards finals if they can keep up some of this steam. Another player I want to shout out who we saw play for the University of Sunshine Coast was Carly Smith. As always, had a great game, 24 points, 10 rebounds, so a double-double. But for her side, they just sort of struggled a little bit with their efficiency towards the end of the game, and that's what cost them, as well as a bit of foul trouble. But Carly Smith also had a great game earlier in the week as well.
Yeah, Carly Smith was awesome in that game. 24 points, like you said, 14 rebounds. She really kept Rip City in that game. She was the most consistent performer for them. Alex Delaney got off to a hot start, but went really quiet after that first quarter. And Rip City was struggling to score, but Carly Smith did everything and anything she possibly could to get them over the line, but just wasn't enough for Rip City in that game against Northside on Sunday.
No, not enough. But going back earlier into the week, Friday night, we had the Ipswich Force take down the Gold Coast Rollers 85-75. And a player that you've been tipping as a hot one coming into the competition, and then since she's been here, Abby Bishop, she had a great game. So, you know, she scored 29 points and 10 of those in the final quarter, which helped them outscore the Rollers. And she also tallied 9 rebounds, 6 assists. And, you know, that's supported by Amy Lewis, who had a great game as well, was, you know, what made the difference for them just clipping out the Gold Coast Rollers.
Oh, for sure. And again, you know, it's probably Abby's best performance from a statistical output perspective so far for Ipswich. And again, you know, I've said it numerous times, she can be a difference maker in this competition. When she can deliver like that, it opens things up for players like Amy Lewis and Georgia Ralph and the rest of that talented Ipswich group. And pretty well balanced and a good win over a Gold Coast team that's tough to beat.
Yeah, definitely tough to beat. And even tougher to beat now that we've got Lauren Mansfield back in the competition. She's come back from injury. And
she had a great game against Red City, right?
Yeah, that's it. She had a great game on that Friday night as well. So they didn't get the win, but she got 25 points. And then, you know, fast forward to her game against the Red City Raw, and that's where she had that 29 points, including 3 of 7 3-pointers, 3 rebounds, 8 assists, and 2 steals. So she's definitely come back with a vengeance, or vengeance, I should say. And it's going to be exciting to see her playing more games moving forward too.
Yeah, for sure. I think we talked about it last week when we were picking our top 8 teams. You know, one of the concerns that I have for Gold Coast is whether they can score the ball enough. But Lauren Mansfield back in there, and a healthy Lauren Mansfield can score the ball. So, you know, that's just another dimension that the Rollers group has been missing since she was out with injury. It's good to see her back on the court, and hopefully she can stay healthy and continue to provide that scoring punch that Gold Coast needs from her.
Yeah, exactly. And then moving on to Saturday night, Brisbane Capitals, they defeated Rip City 87-76. So not a great weekend for Rip, unfortunately. But Brooke Blair from the Brisbane Capitals, you know, had a great game. She had 24 points, including 5 of 8 made from deep. And I also just want to point out, I don't know what everyone was putting in their cereal this weekend, but the shots were falling from deep across the board, men's and women's. Yes. So you'll notice we're mentioning a lot of perimeter game as we talk through these players. And she also scored at 53.3%. So just having a real red hot game, Brooke Blair was.
Oh, for sure. And again, that was a good win for Caps. It is that tight ladder. You know, Isaac mentioned it earlier. We spoke about it last week and on the game of the week up at Northside on Sunday. It's a tight one. Every game is going to count. You know, most weeks now you're going to run into someone who's fighting for that final spot. And that was a big game for Caps and a great performance by Brooke Blair to lead her team to a win over another team that's contending for that final spot.
Yeah, and then the last real one I want to shout out from my side of things is moving to Saturday with Makai taking on Logan. And look, it was a bigger gap than I was expecting. So Logan won 92 to Makai's 47 points. And look, a big part of that was Michaela Roof, walking double-double on legs. And she scored 21 points, 16 rebounds in just 3 quarters of play. So that's the kicker there. She didn't even play the whole game.
Well, that was an amazing performance. We've come to expect it from Michaela Roof, seeing her here in Queensland for the last couple of years. Great performance and a huge game for Logan. I also want to give a shout out to Danny Bays in that one. She had 19 points and 9 rebounds. When Danny Bays is shooting the ball well, she's one of my favorite players to watch I think she's got a beautiful shooting technique, really great footwork, and I'm looking forward to seeing her in our Coles Express NBL1 North game of the week this weekend for sure.
Oh my goodness. And for all those who've been following us, we've been talking about it literally since the start of this season, but it's going to be the iconic, the game not to miss. It's the women's Spartans take on the Logan Thunder, two undefeated sides, two, WNBL worthy teams facing off. And we're going to have to tip this at the end of the podcast. So this is my little note to you to keep tuned in for this whole podcast. We're going to have to put money on it, more or less. Well, maybe not money, but bets, which is even more valuable.
That's right. I just want to give one other shout out also to
no,
Spartans player
only if
Maddie
I let
Willie.
you, John. No, I'll let you.
Maddie Willie, again, we can talk about Spartans. Their starting five all finished in double figures. Maddie Willie, though, had a great one, 24 points, 8 rebounds, 6 assists in a really, really dominant win over Ipswich. So I think both Logan and Spartans have circled this game like most other fans like us. And they both handled business and handled it comfortably in round 10.
Yeah, they definitely. And look, Maddie Willie wasn't alone. All the usual suspects were having big games, doubles across the board, big points. So yeah, we're really in for what is going to be a sensational round 11. But the men's round 10, Jason Cadee with the Gold Coast Rollers having a little bit of their roll on this weekend. So Friday night, Ipswich Force they defeated the Ipswich Force. Ipswich went down 81 points to 102 by the Gold Coast Rollers. And it was mainly Cadee doing a lot of the damage, 33 points, 8 assists. And then he follows that crazy game up with a win on Sunday, 100-92 against Red City Raw, 34 points, including 5 of 8 threes, 4 rebounds and 12 assists. So he was flagged as the NBL1 North Player of the Week because he was just averaging some fully sick stats by the end of that week.
Yeah, and Cadee, we heard Isaac White say it. He was Isaac's toughest opponent, particularly on the weekend. And I imagine it was fresh in Isaac's mind, those 33 points that Cadee put up in that big win. And then to back it up against Red City. And again, Isaac mentioned the level of talent that we have here in Queensland. Cadee did that against Isaac White, who's a player for the Illawarra Hawks, and then backed it up against Red City and Will McDowell White. So Cadee's not doing it against the guys that are at a level below him. He's doing it against that NBL talent as well. And good to see the Gold Coast pick up a couple of wins. They are a very dangerous team, and it's an ominous sign for the rest of the competition when Jason Cadee's three-pointer starts falling like it did last weekend. He is a very streaky shooter, and when he is on a hot streak, he is super tough to stop. And I guarantee you ask Ipswich and Red City about it, they'll tell you how hard he is to stop.
Oh, yeah. And like I said, there was something in the water this round because the three-pointers were just falling. But look, one of his opponents on the Ipswich side who did put up a good fight, and hence why it's all the more impressive for what Cadee did pull off, was his Bullets teammate, Matt Hodgson, who also had a great game, 21 points, 12 rebounds. So, it's not an easy comp. We talked about Isaac White's game as well. And so it's just all the more impressive when these aren't easy games. These are tough games.
That's right.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, for sure. And I think one of Jason's former teammates, I know someone who suited up preseason with the Bullets and has trained with them, is Jeremy Kendall. And Jeremy Kendall also had a huge weekend. Logan went on the road and picked up a couple of wins as well, a couple of good wins in Rocky and Makai. Kendall had 24 points, 5 rebounds, 7 assists in the win against Rockhampton. And then he had 24 points, 6 rebounds, and 7 assists in a really tight win in Makai, one of the better wins of the season. He got a bit of help both nights against Rocky. McCedar had 25 points and 6 rebounds. Both him and Kendall shot 9 of 13 from the field. And then in Makai, Mitch Young is playing vintage Mitch Young basketball, 22 points, 9 rebounds. And again, in a really, really good win for Logan, going on the road and picking up the road win in Makai.
100%. And can I just point out as well, Kendall in that game against the Rockhampton Rockets, Rockhampton, he nailed 5 of 5 3-pointers. So he didn't miss from the 3-point line. Like, I'm impressed. Are
Not
you,
bad.
John? I'm impressed.
Not a bad night at the office. Not
No,
a bad night
definitely
at all.
not.
I mean, I don't know if I'd hit 5 3-pointers in a season, let alone one game. So
Yeah, you might not, I might, but when let's not discuss that.
you
All right,
definitely would.
Moving on to another up north game, we had Friday night Townsville Heat defeat Sunshine Coast Phoenix 78-60. Now Phoenix came off that crazy win, beating Logan, which is still Logan's only loss at this point. Meanwhile, Townsville, they took down Sunshine Coast pretty comfortably in the end by that 18 points. And that had a lot to do with JPC, who scored a game high of 22 points, including 5 of 8 from beyond the arc. So let's just see these arc shots keep dropping. And, he was helped by Josh Spears as well. And, and then Sam Froling, again, adding to this team, worked really well and got 16 points, 10 rebounds. So following in his brother's footsteps in this comp and just getting double-doubles.
Yeah, for sure. And good win for Townsville. And again, very dangerous team. They're right up there at the top of the ladder, and they're coming together to make a bit of a strong run. I know they have a tough stretch to finish the season, so they're in good position, but they still got a bit of work to do. I want to keep it up north, though, Briana, if I can, and shout out a couple of the Cairns Marlins guys.
Oh, I
Majok
know.
Feng,
I was
34
waiting.
points, 8 rebounds. And his Marlins / Taipans teammate, Marco Jarek, 25 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists. And that was a tough weekend for the Sunshine Coast Phoenix. They go down to Townsville and then also down to Cairns, 88-82, a really nice win for the Marlins.
Yeah, tough games. I mean, like, you've been talking about this Cairns team for a while and been a little bit surprised that they hadn't pulled out a few more wins than they had, but they showed up this weekend. And that's kind of, I suppose, what we were expecting to see more of. One of us tipped it, one of us didn't. And we got an update on the tips coming up when we get to that section. And let's
we do.
Things are getting a little bit serious. But more to come on that later. Yeah, so great. It was such a good game up north. And we definitely saw just some crazy tough competition. But, coming back to Brisbane, there was the Pirates taking on Red City Raw, but Red City, look, they lost to Gold Coast in a very close game, but they won against the Pirates. They defeated them again, pretty close, only 4 points in it. Pirates had 109 points, Raw 113 to take it out, but William McDowell-White had a near triple-double with 14 points, 9 rebounds, 8 assists in 29 minutes of work, we might add. And then, when they lost that Sunday game against GC, he also had 23 points, 8 rebounds, 8 assists, and 5 steals. So he's on fire. And if you follow the NBL1 North or just NBL1 Instagram page, you'll see that they did their North compilation of best games, and he was in there with what was just the craziest block ever. So it was pretty exciting to watch.
Yeah, Will's a super talented guy, and really excited to see that Red City group. I wonder if it's too little too late for them to make a run, but they're not that far outside the 8. They can potentially, if they can string together a few consecutive wins, they can get themselves right back in the mix. I want to give a shout out to our game of the week. I mean, I tried to narrow it down to one player from Northside, but I couldn't go past the whole. There's a trio, probably 4 players I probably could have shout out. So sorry, Mitch McCarron, that I left you out of it. You missed that triple double by a couple. But how about Jesse Gee? He was absolutely amazing in that game, particularly in the first half. Finishes with 26 points, 7 rebounds, 3 assists. Atem stepped up when he needed to, hit some really big shots in that one. He finished with 25 points, 4 rebounds, and a few assists as well. And then Aiden Krause finished with 23 points, 7 rebounds, 4 assists. And he had the task of keeping Tanner Krebs quiet. Tanner had a pretty good game, but Krause did a great job on him defensively. So got to give a shout out to all 3 of those guys. And that shooting display from Jesse Gee in that first half was just awesome. He finished, he was just amazing. It was really, really fun to watch. Really
It
fun to
was. It
watch.
was such a thrill to commentate, and we were just so excited to see a team come together. They played so well together that all of them were performing. I think a lot of people's best game statistically of the tournament, and just so exciting. And Jesse Gee, talking about hot shooting, he finished with over 64% from his field goal. So, I mean, Gee, giving us something to say G about.
That's right. He was awesome. And I'm just going to give a quick one more, actually two more. Matt Hodgson again had a huge game on Sunday in a loss against Spartans. He had 24 points, 19 rebounds, 5 assists. Matt Hodgson doing Matt Hodgson things. And Lamar Patterson had a great game for Spartans. And, they're setting up for a huge one in our Coles Express NBL1 North game of the week. We keep talking about the ladies side of things, but that men's game is going to be a really good game too between Logan and Spartans. And Lamar Patterson, probably one of his better performances for Spartans, 23 points, 12 rebounds, 6 assists, and a pretty nice win for them over Ipswich.
Exactly. And look, on that note, let's just talk about what we've got coming up. Talking points for the week ahead. We're heading into round 11, and goodness, we are definitely at this pointy end of the stick of the season as we're heading towards this final series. And let's get into the real nitty gritty of it. You just mentioned then we've got the Spartans men taking on Logan. I think for me, Spartans, their greatest challenge is probably their youth and how that ties in with their experience. I think when I see it play, they've got a lot of great raw talent in some of their younger players, but how that sets up into them executing set plays and making really smart basketball decisions play in, play out, that's where I think they find that challenge. So there's a lot of great energy, but sometimes they can fall into lots of turnovers or just taking the first shot that's open. And then sometimes that's why they depend so much on Lamar, because he sort of brings more experience and definitely has to play that more facilitating role where he's looking for the best option. So in terms of their point guards, sometimes they struggle in that position. But I think when they start gelling and they get on a bit of a groove, we see them have great games and, play really well like they did on the weekend. So I think I know who I'm going to tip for that game, but what's your thoughts on it, Jon?
Well, I'm not ready to do my tips.
No, we won't do our tips. Just keep it quiet, but just give us a little chat.
For me, I think it's going to be very much how Logan is going to defend Patterson. But again, Spartans are going to be challenged really on how they defend Logan. Logan just has so much firepower. If you remember when we did our tips last week, heading with Logan heading up to Rockhampton and Makai, one of the things I said about Logan is their depth in the backcourt with guys like Jeremy Kendall and Sean Bruce and Mick Cedar. That is a real handful for most teams. And I think, that's going to be the big challenge for Spartans is how they're going to slow down those trio and then also keep guys like Mitch Young and Obi Shea off the glass. So I know that Patterson has the capability of carrying his team to a win, and I'm never going to discount them, but I'm going to be really interested to see defensively the approach that Spartans take. And I think we'll get a really good sense of how that game's going to play out within the first 5 minutes of that one.
100%.
We'll be able to see. So I'm looking forward to it. I think that's going to be a really good game.
It's going to be a great game. And what's going to be an equally great game, or should I say sensational game, is going to be the women's side. We've got Spartans ladies take on Logan, 2 undefeated teams. One queendom will fall from supremacy. So this is going to be exciting. The overtime, is that a possibility? This could definitely happen. We've been dreading having to make tips for it. We're not making them just yet, but let's chat a little bit about what we've got going. For me, it's hard to piece because both teams have so much depth, have so much experience. You've got some really crazy good players. And, I think for me, Spartans are just so consistent. Week in, week out, all starting 5 have double-digit games, often double-doubles, and they really do play together. And their impact players, their 6 and seventh women to come on the court, they can do just as much damage. So that's the thing with Spartans. And then how they defend, and they play so aggressive because they're so eager to score. They don't like to slow down. They don't like to play at other people's paces. They'll ruffle your feathers. There's a lot going for that side. Logan, on the other hand, strength, maturity, great games, strong players, play well together. And then they've got some absolute superstars like walking double-double, Michaela Roof. So, and then just experience some people who can handle pressure. So I think for me, what's crazy about that game is they've got people who are really built to play hard competitors. So I think they almost have their best games when they play against such tough competition. So I think we're going to see one of the best games we've seen of Logan by taking on Spartans. So yeah, it's going to be a tough game.
Yeah, and the thing that's crazy for me is just the matchups and how they're going to defend each other. You know, you look at the Logan group and they have Michaela Can at point guard. She's one of the best point guards that we have in the competition. She can defend. She can score when she needs to. She gets everyone involved, a great ball handler. You look at Ash Taya, who can do a bit of everything, one of the top shooters that we'll see. And when she gets hot, it's really hard to stop her. You got Chevy Paldas. We got Michaela Roof. We got Cassie Carroll. I mean, Logan also can go deep. You know, they go 6, 7, 8 deep, much like the Spartans group. Spartans, we've said it all season long. They're like a WNBL team. I'm going to be really interested to see how they defend each other and what matchups the coaches decide to go with. Both teams like to play up and down. They like to get out in transition. So it's going to be who can control the glass, I think. The rebounding is going to be a huge key in this game. Obviously, defense, teams that can string together stops, teams that can force the other into turnovers. Both teams take care of the ball a lot. So it's going to be really interesting to see how that matchup of styles plays out, because they both play a fairly similar game in many ways. Both teams have a solid core that have played together for a long time. I mean, I've been dreading this since we started, having to make a tip in this one. So I'm still thinking about it. I haven't decided yet. So thankfully we have a little more time.
We got a little bit more time. Now, look, moving on to Gold Coast.
I do just want to say one more thing, though, before we move on from them, is that if you can get down to Logan, get down there, get a ticket, and you're going to be in for a real treat. But if you can't make it, you better not forget to tune in to us on the call on nbl1.com.au, or download that NBL app and make sure you watch it, because it's going to be an amazing, amazing game.
Yeah, it's definitely a game not to miss. And look, yeah, I'm with you, John. Get down there in the flesh, because it's going to be going off. And if you cannot, we're going to be going off. So listen to us commentate the action, because I'm ready to go ham.
That's right.
All righty. Next point and we want to discuss is the Gold Coast men's and women's on the rise. So Lauren Mansfield's back, which is so exciting. We had on one of our earliest podcasts, I was able to interview her and just talk about the game. And I just think she's such a lovely person, great player. I love the passion and joy she brings to the game as well. And it was exciting to see her hit the court and help her team get a little bit of success. But Kadee, he really helped his team this week have a big weekend, you know, really start getting back into this mix of trying to make the 8. So the question is, have both teams found their groove? Do you see them getting into final series?
I would. It's really hard to say that both teams have found their groove. Yes, they had success on the weekend, which obviously is the start of something, hopefully, for them. I think when we talked last week, I think we both, I definitely have them both in the 8. I think the women's side of things, like I said, having Mansfield back is going to make a massive difference for them. She's someone who can create opportunities for herself. She knows how to score the ball. She draws a lot of attention, which will make things easier for some of her teammates to score the ball as well. And they have that really solid core of defense that they consistently bring week in and week out. So I think strong defense for the women's, and then putting Mansfield back into that group, I think should help them definitely solidify a spot in the 8. I don't know if they found their groove, though. I would hold off on saying that. but I think certainly they have enough talent on that team, and they're in a pretty good position to make the 8. So I would definitely say the women are in a prime position to get to finals. And the men's side of things, there's no doubt about it that they're a team that should be in the 8. They should be contending for championships with the depth and talent that they have in that group. When, like I said earlier, when Jason Cadee gets himself going like he did on the weekend, they are going to be a really, really hard team to beat. Cadee has championship experience in the QBL and then in the QSL last season. He he was the leader of championship winning teams. And I think that's what Gold Coast needs from him. I know Jason wasn't happy with some of his performances leading up to the weekend, and he's a guy who plays with a lot of confidence no matter what. He always feels like the next shot is going to go in. But I tell you, when it does go in, they tend to go in bunches. And I think if he can bring that consistently week in and week out, Gold Coast is going to be one of the teams to beat for sure. I would say that they've found their groove because I think they're starting to settle into rotations and they're understanding where they're going to be and where they're going to find each other. And they're definitely a team to watch for sure.
For sure. And on that, Cadee over the weekend averaged 33.5 points per game and 10 assists per game. So that's some pretty mad stats to average because he just had such a big one. But also, you're exactly right. A lot of that team, the Gold Coast side, did have really great games. Cam Dalton, plenty of other players too. So it's good to see them find a bit more of a groove. And one of the teams they did take down was Red City Raw Men, but they had a little bit of a hot run. And they're definitely playing probably the best they've played so far in this season. So the question that's being put to us is it impossible for them to now make a run for the finals? What do you think, Jon?
I would not say it's impossible, but I would say it's damn tough for them to make the finals. I mean, heading into this weekend, they sit at 3-6, so they're in 12th spot. 3 wins is not great, but when you look at the teams that are in 8th and 7th, and even the 6th place team, Cairns Marlins, they have 5 wins, 5 of 4. So Red City is not that far outside of it. If they can string together some wins, they certainly can make the finals, but they have to find the consistency again. They need to string together multiple wins. They need to hopefully beat some of the teams that are ahead of them and maybe get a bit of help. I'm not saying that it's impossible for them to make it. I'm not saying I will say, though, I'm not 100% confident that they will. I think they've dug themselves a bit of a hole here. I wouldn't say it's impossible, but I would say it's not likely that they do make the finals.
I feel that it's a little too late. I think they really needed to have this momentum a little bit earlier. And if anything, if they were going to make a run, they had to beat Gold Coast. They got close, but they didn't. So I feel like it's a little too late for them, but also mainly not because of, I think they're going to have they always did have good games, but they just couldn't quite get the win early on in this season. And I think they're still going to have really great games, but the competition is so tough. We heard Isaac White talk about the rep it's got. People are coming up here because they know there's good players in the mix. And I think it doesn't matter if you're playing well. It's can you beat other teams? Because to be honest, there's so many people playing well. When we talk about our favorite players, like you shout out winning and losing sides because a lot of the time everyone's having a good game and you can have your superstar 3 getting doubles every week and that's still not getting you the win. You need to have that depth of 5+.
Yeah.
That's how it works. Or defense is the big one for a lot of teams.
The thing that plays in Red City's favor is that most teams are ahead of them in the ladder. So if they do pick up wins and they can get on a run, they should be making up ground. So this weekend they take on Northside. In round 12, they take on Townsville and Spartans. So again, all teams that are in front of them. Round 13, they take on Ipswich and Cairns. Again, teams that are in front of them. And then they'll wrap up the season with a tough road trip to Rocky and Makai. So, while I'm saying it's definitely not impossible, it's going to be really, really tough. But if they can get a couple wins together, they're beating teams in front of them on the ladder. So there's a possibility.
Definitely a possibility. Even the word impossible says I'm possible. We all know that
That's
one.
Right.
So
that's right.
Here we are. Look, we'll be definitely here for the crazy roller coaster of it if they can do it. So Dig deep, Red City Raw.
For sure.
All right, John, the time we have dreaded has arrived.
We?
And look,
Don't say we. Don't say we.
Little bit of an update here. Now, we know one of us had previously boasted about their great victories, their 100% tipping week, all these things. But the queen of tipping, Miss Briana Goodchild, has fallen from grace. I'm off my pedestal. We've just had an update on the tipping scores, and John is ahead of me by one tip, 107 to my 106. So, look, John, you're in front now.
Finally,
So,
I don't know what it's like. I've never felt this way before. I've always been chasing you. So to be in the lead is a bit surreal, to be honest with you. I mean, the pressure really is on now.
It is. And look, now we have a game. Look, I could just say, listen, I was getting a bit bored. I was getting complacent, dropping the ball. But also, like, I feel like I was a pretty prideful winner. So I had it coming, right? Pride comes before a fall. I'll own that. I was having a bit of fun with it. So now we've got a competition on our hands, John, Guarna.
For sure.
It's
And
getting real.
listen, there's too much basketball for me to get comfortable with a one game tipping lead. So trust me, I have no confidence in myself to maintain this slimmest of margins.
Confidence is shot. Honestly, I had a shocker weekend last weekend with my tipping rounds because it's so unpredictable now because the teams are so good. It's who comes in that weekend feeling good, shots on, the combination of players, and all teams, like all the players mentioned, and we hear it week in, week out, there's always a couple of very experienced players in the team. So, it's just who's feeling it that week sometimes.
I also just want to say that I want to put it on record that there's a conspiracy theory against me because Briana gave you the game that you actually tipped Cairns in last week, but she let you change it, but I'm not allowed to change it. So it's a conspiracy theory against me.
No. Let me explain what happened. If you listen to episode 10, I was talking about how Sunshine Coast Phoenix women will beat Cairns, but I slipped up when I spoke about that and accidentally said Cairns, which Brie acknowledged I didn't mean. And then I followed up by saying, because I always summarize my tips at the end, I said, so I'm backing Sunshine Coast Phoenix for both. So thank you, Brie, for understanding what had happened, my little conniption I had that, led to me.
The conspiracy theory against me. They're conspiring to take me down from the top.
Now, John, because you are now the leader, you have the pressure that I've been dealing with for weeks. You have to pick yours first, and then I can just coast off the back of you.
No
not
worries.
that that's what's going to happen, though, because I've already done my tips. But here we go. John, I'm going to give you the game, and you're going to tell me your tips first. All right.
No worries.
Friday night, we have the Gold Coast Rollers taking on Red City Raw. Who are you going?
I'm going to be pretty blunt about this one. I think it's going to be Gold Coast in both games. I think the women obviously are coming together. They have confidence that they can beat Red City after beating them the previous week. Again, I think definitely on the women's side, I'm tipping Gold Coast, and I'm going to have to tip the men again for Gold Coast. I think they're starting to get a bit together. I think playing at home also will give them that extra confidence, and I'm excited to see what Jason can do after that huge weekend. So I'm going Gold Coast in both.
All right. Well, you stole my tips out of my mouth. I'm also going Gold Coast for both. All right. Next game, Makai versus Ipswich. John?
This one is an interesting one for me, particularly on the women's side of things. I was a little concerned by the score line and the performance of the Makai team against Logan last week. And I know Logan is a great team, but I would have expected it to be a lot closer than what it actually was. I think that could be a humbling loss, though, for that Makai group. Obviously, they're missing Kayla George. It was always going to be tough without her, but I still have faith in that group. I think they have a lot of talent. I'm torn, though, because I really like the Ipswich team. I think that they're playing some good basketball as well. Abby Bishop there. I think everyone knows I'm a big fan of Abby Bishop and a true believer in what she can do for that group. But I just can't see Makai losing at home again. So I have to tip Makai in the women's side of things. And in the men's side of things, it's going to be tough one for me to call, but I have to go with Makai at home. I think they have some really good depth up front. I think Harry Froling will play against his former Bullets teammate, Matty Hodgson, and it'll be interesting to see who can control the glass. I just think that Makai has a little more depth, particularly up front, to nullify that Hodgson effect, and I think I'm going to go with both Makai teams at home.
Yeah, I'm also going to parrot you and go both Makai teams as well. Cairns versus Brisbane. Okay, who are we going?
I'm going to go with the Caps women in that one. I think, again, I like that group that the Caps have. I think that they had a really nice win last weekend, and I think that they're going to be too much for the Cairns women. And in the men's side of things, it's for me, I have to go with the Marlins. Again, they're one of the top teams. They're sitting in the 8 at the moment. They probably should have a better record than they do. I think the Caps are going to give them all they can handle for sure, but I think Cairns at home, I'll have to go with the men. So Caps women, Cairns men.
You know what? I'm not enjoying this going second business because now I'm just copying you the whole time. I've also picked Brisbane women's and Cairns men for similar reasons. I think now that we've seen Cairns pull out a bit of a bigger weekend, I think they're going to be pretty hot to trot. And I think they've got all the pieces. And like you said, it's surprising this hasn't happened a little bit sooner, but I think we could really see them start to fire up. All right, moving on to Saturday. Northside Wizards taking on Red City Raw. Who are you going?
Again, Northside Wizards on the women's side of things, I have to tip them. Red City hasn't won a game just yet, and I don't think this is going to be the weekend that they do it. On the men's side of things, it's a tough one. I really loved that Wizards game that we did on the weekend. They really played as a team. They were having a lot of fun out there. They had each other's backs. I thought it got a little difficult for them, but I really loved how they responded and took the punch from Rip City and then came right back and retook the game. So I'm not really a massive fan of the matchups that they have with Red City, but I think that they'll have just enough to get a win. So I'm going to go Wizards in both of them.
Yeah, I'm also going Wizards in both. And I think, look, if the work Aiden Krause did on Tanner Krebs was anything to go by, I think he can also, whether he's matched up with Will McDowell-White, and Daryl and stuff. I just think they can do it, Northside, and I want to keep backing them. They had a good game. They have been a little bit patchy at times, but I'm hoping they're back. And we don't know what's happening with Thu yet, so hopefully we'll find out a little bit more, but I doubt we'll see him come back into this game. All right, next game.
Not expected.
Not expected, okay. Rocky taking on Ipswich. Who are you going?
I have to go with the Ipswich women in that one, and I'm going to probably go with the Ipswich men on the road. Rockhampton has added some more firepower to their group with Kendall Stevens coming in. I wouldn't be surprised if they get that win, but again, they haven't shown that they're ready to get over the hump just yet. I think Ipswich is going to win both those games.
Yeah, Ipswich for both for me as well. Okay. Woo. Game of the week alert. We're now talking about Logan and Spartans. All right, are we ready? Jon, Guarna, who are you tipping?
Not really, because I've had all season long to think about who I want to tip in this game.
I just haven't. I'm just taking it out of my brain, crunched it up, and chucked it in the bin for later. But
yeah, it really is difficult for me to make the prediction in this one.
Do you want me to just go first then? Should I just do it? I'll go first and then you just choose whichever I don't.
No, well, I mean, if you want to, I should always offer ladies should go first. But I do think that there is just something about the Spartans group that has me leaning towards the Spartans. I think that they have a little more depth up front. I think that they can make things a little more difficult for Ruth. I like some of the matchups that they have defensively against Michaela Can and Ash Ty and Chevy Palvest. I think for me, it's always a toss-up, but because I have to tip somebody, I'm going to lean towards Spartans in that one. And in the men's side of things, I have to go with Logan. I think I really just love their backcourt. I think the way that the game is refereed, it favors teams that are strong in the guard spots, and there's not many teams that are stronger than Logan in the backcourt, which is why I'm tipping the Logan Thunder in the men. So Spartans women, Logan Thunder men.
Okay, well, you've just stolen my thunder because I don't think I can look past the Spartans women. I feel like for a bit of fun, I should back Logan just to see what happens. I mean, do I do it? Do I not? I mean, I have written down that I want to back the Spartans women. Do I change it just for a bit of good sport, or do I keep it?
Oh, well, let's make it clear so there's no conspiracy this next week.
Yeah,
least,
yeah,
right?
okay. I am going to look. I think it's going to be the Spartans women, but in good jest, in a bit of fun, in a bit of stakes on the commentary bench, because I'm a risk it for the biscuit type personality. I'm going to back Logan for the women's game, just so we make it interesting, John. I'm changing my tip.
Someone's going to be a winner on the podcast at least.
Purely because you went Spartans. I actually do think the Spartans will take it out. But Logan, you're a great team. Prove John wrong. Prove me wrong. Old me wrong. New me's going you. But I'm going Logan in the men's. So
All
Logan
right,
for both.
2 Logan tips for you. All right.
Yeah. Oh, kills me a little bit, but hey, walk the fine lines. Risk it for the biscuit. All right. Pirates versus Gold Coast. Who are you going?
For me, I think I can't go past the Gold Coast again. Pirates are struggling both in the women's and men's side of things. I think Gold Coast is starting to find form. We talked about Lauren Mansfield earlier. I think that her being back gives a lot of confidence to that women's team in the Gold Coast. So I'm tipping Rollers in that one. And on the men's side of things, I can't go past the Gold Coast Rollers again. Their depth, their talent. I would love to see that battle between Brendan Tees and Jason Kadee. I think it'll be awesome. But I just think that group of the Gold Coast is too difficult for Pirates. So I'm going Gold Coast in both.
Yeah, I'm copying you there as well. I've got Gold Coast for both. Sunshine Coast Phoenix take on USC Rip City.
Man, that's a tough one. That one's down in Maroochydore. So the Phoenix are home in that one. Rip City women, they are a team that probably is really fighting for a spot in the 8. Phoenix hit that little bit of a rough patch, but they got their players back from injuries. So I have to go with the Phoenix women in that one. Mm-hmm. And on the men's side of things, again, that's a real toss-up for me. I have a lot of confidence in both of those groups. I think Rip City is one of the sleepers for a title contender. I think Phoenix could be right up there with them as well. It's a toss-up for me. I think, Phoenix took a couple of tough losses on the road last weekend. They're going to be looking to get back on track. They want to continue to fight for that spot in the 8. They need to win this game. So I'm going to have to go with Phoenix as well in the women and the men.
Okay. Well, I'm going to go Sunshine Coast Phoenix for the women's. But I've been scorned, John. I've been scorned by tipping the Phoenix. So I'm going to again make it interesting. I can't copy you for every tip. So I'm going to go USC for the men's game. And next,
I was heavily contemplating Rip City, to be honest with you, but
I think they'll get it.
I honestly think they will. But when I'm not sure, I always lean to the home team. So Phoenix for me, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, fair call. And hey, I do think it is a coin toss. Again, both those teams are teams that are very capable, a lot of great players, but they have had hot and cold times. So it's just who's coming out warm from the oven, I think. Townsville take on Brisbane. Who are you going?
Oh man, I'm gonna have to go with Townsville in both of those as well. I think the Flames women are one of the top teams. I think they would have been looking to pick up a nice win. They have a tough weekend ahead of them. So I think the Townsville women, and I'm going to go Townsville men as well. I just don't think that Brisbane can match up well with Sam Froling. And I think he's going to be the difference in that men's matchup.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm the same with you, Townsville for both. And lastly, our Sunday matches. So we've got Townsville take on Cairns, which is going to be a fun one. Who are you tipping?
I'm going to go Townsville in the women, and in the men, again, I'm really torn. I have a lot of faith in that Cairns Marlins group. So I just think that they have a little more experience than the Townsville group. It's always a great game. It's a big rivalry game, so anything can happen, but I'm going to go with a little more seasoned veterans in that Cairns Marlins group.
All right. Well, I'm going to keep things slightly interesting. Women's, I'm going Townsville, and men's, I'm going to go Townsville as well. I reckon, I don't know if Cairns, they're coming off a big weekend, so maybe they're feeling a little bit tired at this point. We'll see.
We'll see.
All right. US last game of the week, USC versus Northside.
Man, I mean, that was our game. That was our game of the week last weekend, and they were two great games. I think either team really could have won either of those games, so it's a tough one. I think the crowd in Northside really helped them get over the hump against Rib City. Now that Rib City is back at home playing on a Sunday afternoon, I'm going to go with the reverse. Northside got 2 wins in round 10. I'm going with Rib City to pick up 2 wins in round 11.
Yeah, for both men's and women's?
For both.
Okay. Women's, I think I'm going to go Northside and see them have another great game. But men's, I'm going USC.
Right.
Yeah,
So,
it's one of those things where I'm not sure Lightning's going to strike twice, but I'm mixing it up.
Yeah, and listen, again, it's a toss-up. I think Northside is one of those teams that, particularly in the women's side of things, I think when they're on, they can compete and beat anyone. Same thing with the men. I just think that Rip City has a tough weekend. They know how desperate they need to win, and I'm hoping that they can respond.
Yeah, I think it's good tips. It's all getting a bit hard. Maybe I should have stuck with Spartans and made it less interesting. But hey, it's all done and dusted now.
Living on the edge as always, Briana. Living on the edge.
That's it. Woo! Ride or die. And look, speaking of ride or die, we've just rode to the end of this one. So this has been the In the North podcast, proudly brought to you by Basketball Queensland. It's all part of the Coles Express NBL1 North games of the week that are brought to you as well. And we do this podcast. You can listen to it by finding it on Spotify, which I'm sure is how you found it now. And remember, go to nbl1.com.au to watch the games live, listen in. You can watch any of the games back, watch other NBL1 tournaments. But if you can get to the games, be there, especially this weekend, round 11. Come to our game of the week. Spartans take on Logan at Logan in the Canoobia Stadium. It's going to be such a mammoth one. And John, I am excited. Are you excited?
I'm definitely excited. It's something that we circled on the calendar as soon as we got the schedule. I think both teams did that as well. So I'm expecting it to be a really, really great game. I can't wait to get down to Logan on Saturday.
Yeah, so thank you for joining us. We love having you involved. Make sure you hit us up on our socials. You've got Jon, Guarna and Briana Goodchild. Follow all the action, get involved, send through any questions, and we'll put it on the podcast. But for now, we'll see you on the weekend when all our games kick off for round 11.
Yeah, I can't wait. I can't wait to get down there, and we'll see you all online or at the stadium.
Have a good one. Bye for now.